The great dragon Taehyun soared through the night sky, his massive wings cutting through clouds as he patrolled his territory. The stars above shone brightly, but below an orange glow caught his attention. Fire. Human settlement fire. Taehyun circled lower, careful to stay hidden in the darkness. The war between dragons and humans had raged for decades across many worlds. This small colony on the edge of the galaxy was just the latest battlefield. He should have flown away. The elders had strict rules. Avoid human settlements, especially burning ones. Human warriors would be there with their dragon-killing weapons and hatred in their eyes, but something made him pause. A sound reached his sensitive ears, different from the crack of flames or falling buildings. A cry. Small, helpless, yet somehow defiant. Taehyun folded his wings and dropped lower, his scales reflecting the firelight as he landed at the edge of the ruined settlement. The buildings were simple structures, now mostly ash and rubble. No humans remained alive. The attack had been thorough. Not dragons, he noted. This destruction came from other humans, pirates or raiders taking advantage of the colony's remote location. The crying continued, pulling him forward despite his better judgment. Taehyun moved carefully through the ruins, his massive clawed feet stepping delicately around fallen beams and collapsed walls. There, in what once might have been a home, he found the source of the sound, a small bundle of cloth singed at the edges but somehow untouched by the destruction around it. Inside was a human infant, no more than a few months old. Taehyun lowered his massive head, nostrils flaring as he examined the tiny creature. The baby stopped crying, staring up at him with wide, dark eyes that showed no fear, only curiosity. "You should fear me, little one," Taehyun rumbled, his voice like distant thunder. "Your kind has been taught to fear mine since before you could walk." The baby made a small sound and reached up with tiny fingers toward his snout. Taehyun pulled back slightly, surprised. In all his 200 years, he had never been this close to a human child. Adult humans ran or fought. They never reached out with wonder in their eyes. "Your parents are gone," he said, knowing the child couldn't understand his words, "and you will die here alone if I leave you." The logical choice was clear. Leave the human infant. It was not his concern. The war had claimed countless dragon hatchlings. Why should he care about one human child? Yet he couldn't fly away. Something in those fearless eyes held him in place. A distant sound made him turn his head sharply. Engines. Ships approaching. More humans coming to investigate the destruction, perhaps. They would find the child, but they would also find him. "I must be losing my mind," Taehyun muttered to himself as he gently closed his clawed hand around the bundle. The baby made no sound of protest as he lifted it, tucking it close to his chest. With a powerful leap, Taehyun launched himself into the night sky, wings spreading wide as he climbed higher, away from the burning settlement. The child in his grasp remained strangely quiet, as if understanding the need for silence. The flight to his mountain cave was long, and dawn was breaking as Taehyun landed on the wide stone ledge that marked his home. The cave extended deep into the mountain, with chambers large enough for a dragon of his size to move comfortably. He placed the bundle down carefully on a bed of soft moss he used for resting. The baby was awake, eyes taking in the strange new surroundings. "What am I to do with you?" Taehyun wondered aloud. Dragons did not raise human young. It was unheard of, impossible. Yet here they were. The child would need food, warmth, care. Things Taehyun knew little about for humans. He would need to learn quickly. "You need a name," he said, studying the small face. "I cannot simply call you human child forever." The baby was female, he realized upon closer inspection. Among the charred edges of her blanket, he could make out delicate embroidery, flowers, and a name written in human script. "Jiwoo," he read aloud. "Is that your name, little one, Jiwoo?" The baby gurgled in response, tiny hands waving. "Jiwoo it is, then." Taehyun knew he would need supplies from human settlements, milk, clothing, eventually other things as the child grew. It would be dangerous, but he was skilled at stealth despite his size. Dragons had survived this long by adapting. "The elders will not approve," he told the baby as he created a makeshift nest for her using the softest materials he could find in his cave. "But the elders rarely approve of anything I do." As if understanding his words, the baby, Jiwoo, made a sound that almost resembled laughter. 3 days later, Taehyun faced the Dragon Council in the great cavern deep within the mountain range. 5 ancient dragons, their scales dulled with age but their eyes sharp with wisdom, stared down at him with obvious disapproval. You brought a human child into our sanctuary? Elder Minjay's voice echoed through the chamber, her tone making it clear she thought he had lost his mind. I found her alone, surrounded by destruction caused by her own kind, Taehyun explained. She would have died. Perhaps that would have been kinder than what you propose, said Elder Hyuk, the oldest of them all. His scales had once been brilliant gold, but now were pale as sand. What future can a human child have raised by a dragon? A different one, Taehyun replied firmly. One that might change things. Elder Sungho, whose battle scars told the story of many encounters with human hunters, growled low. You risk exposing our last safe haven for a human infant? Their kind has hunted us to near extinction across 12 worlds. She is an infant, Taehyun countered. She has hunted no one. Yet, Elder Sungho snapped. Give her 20 years. Taehyun stood his ground, wings slightly extended in a posture of determination. I have made my decision. I will raise her away from our main settlement in my own cave. I will teach her our ways, our history, our truth. And when she betrays you? Asked Elder Jia, her voice softer than the others, but no less concerned. When human nature reveals itself? Then I will have failed, Taehyun admitted. But I must try. We cannot win this war through strength alone. Perhaps understanding is our only hope. The elders exchanged glances, a silent communication born of centuries of shared wisdom. Finally, Elder Minjay spoke. We cannot force you to abandon this foolish quest, Taehyun. You are old enough to make your own choices, even unwise ones. But know this, you alone will bear responsibility for whatever comes of this experiment. I understand. Taehyun bowed his great head in respect. The child cannot know of our main settlement, Elder Hyuk added. Your cave is remote enough. Keep her there. Taehyun nodded again. I will protect her, and I will protect us. As he flew back to his cave where he had left Jiwoo in a carefully constructed nest, Taehyun wondered if he truly understood what he had undertaken. Raising a human child would require knowledge he didn't possess, patience he wasn't sure he had. Yet when he landed and found the small bundle exactly where he'd left her, her eyes lighting up at his return, something shifted in his ancient heart. We will learn together, little Jiwoo, he said softly, lowering his massive head to gently nuzzle the child. And perhaps someday, you will help build a bridge between our kinds that war could never destroy. Outside, the sun set on another day in a galaxy torn by conflict. But in a dragon's cave, something new had begun, something neither human nor dragon had dared to imagine before. 7 years passed in the mountain cave. Jiwoo grew from a helpless infant into a strong, curious child. Her small feet raced across the stone floors of their home, her laughter echoing through the chambers that had once known only a dragon's solitude. Taehyun watched her climb a pile of books he had collected from abandoned human settlements. Her movements were quick and sure, like a young dragon learning to navigate rocky terrain. Be careful, he called, though he knew she rarely fell anymore. At 7, Jiwoo had the balance and confidence of someone who had grown up scaling a dragon's back for fun. I'm always careful, she replied, reaching the top of the book mountain and raising her arms in victory. Look how high I am. Taehyun chuckled, the sound rumbling through the cave like distant thunder. Very impressive for a human child, though you have a long way to go before you reach my height. Jiwoo put her hands on her hips. I'll never be as tall as you. That's not fair. Life rarely is, Taehyun said more gently. Come down now. It's time for your lessons. With a dramatic sigh that only a 7-year-old could perfect, Jiwoo climbed down and settled cross-legged on the flat stone they used as a table. Taehyun had carved it himself, along with smaller furniture sized for his human child. Today's lesson was human history, or at least the parts Taehyun knew. He had been collecting books and data tablets from his careful raids of abandoned human outposts for years. Today we will learn about Earth, he said, pushing a book toward her with one careful claw, the original home of humans before they spread to the stars. Jiwoo opened the book, her small fingers tracing the pictures of blue oceans and green forests. It looks pretty. Why did humans leave? Too many people. Not enough resources, Taehyun explained simply. Humans needed more space, so they built ships and found new worlds. Like this one? Jiwoo asked. Yes, this world was empty when they found it. Good for farming, building, but then they found something else. Jiwoo looked up, her dark eyes serious. Dragons, Taehyun nodded. Dragons. We had been here for thousands of years, living quietly in the mountains and forests. And then the fighting started, Jiwoo said. It wasn't a question. They had discussed this before. Yes. Humans feared what they didn't understand. We defended our territories. Mistakes were made on both sides. Taehyun tried to keep his voice neutral, though the memories of lost friends and destroyed dragon nests still burned in his mind. Jiwoo frowned, thinking hard. But I'm human and you don't fight with me. You are different, Taehyun said, lowering his massive head to her level. You see me as I am, not as a monster from stories? You're not a monster, Jiwoo said firmly. You're just Taehyun. The dragon felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with his fire-breathing abilities. And you are just Jiwoo. Now read the chapter about Earth's oceans. Then we will practice your dragon language, Jiwoo groaned. Dragon words hurt my throat. Practice makes perfect, Taehyun reminded her. One day you may need both languages. As Jiwoo read, Taehyun reflected on how much she had grown. Her black hair now reached the middle of her back, often tangled from climbing and exploring. Her face had lost its baby roundness, showing hints of the person she would become. He had done his best to teach her everything a human child should know: reading, writing, mathematics, science. But he had also taught her things no human child learned: the ancient dragon tongue, the history of his kind, how to read the stars as dragons did, how to recognize the different types of fire a dragon could breathe and what each meant. She was neither fully human nor dragon, but something new, something in between. On Jiwoo's 8th birthday, Taehyun brought her a special gift. He had flown farther than usual, risking detection to reach an abandoned research station. There he had found something precious, a working data tablet with educational programs designed for human children. What is it? Jiwoo asked, turning the flat device over in her hands. Technology from your people, Taehyun explained. It will teach you things I cannot. Jiwoo looked uncertain. But I want to learn from you. And you will, but there are human things I don't know well. How to interact with other humans. Their customs, their games, their songs. Jiwoo's face brightened. It has songs? Many, Taehyun confirmed, and stories written by humans for humans. That night, after Taehyun had shown her how to use the tablet, he watched as Jiwoo became absorbed in human children's stories. Her face glowed in the light of the screen, her expression shifting between wonder, sadness, and joy as she discovered tales from her own kind. For the first time, Taehyun felt a pang of worry. Would these human stories make her question her life with him? Would she begin to long for human companions? As if sensing his thoughts, Jiwoo looked up. These stories are nice, but they're missing dragons, she said seriously. Except for some mean ones that get killed by knights. That's stupid. Taehyun relaxed slightly. Perhaps someday you will write better stories. I will, she promised. With good dragons. Like you. By the time Jiwoo turned 10, she had mastered both human language and the basic dragon tongue. Her voice couldn't produce all the deeper rumbles and fire-touched sounds of true dragon speech. But she came remarkably close. She had also grown more curious about the world beyond their cave. Why can't we visit other dragons? She asked one day as they sat at the mouth of their cave, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold. Taehyun sighed. The other dragons, they are not all like me. Many still fear and distrust humans. But I'm not like other humans, Jiwoo protested. No, you are not, Taehyun agreed. But fear is not always logical. Jiwoo thought about this, her young face serious. Are there other human children raised by dragons? No, you are the only one. That sounds lonely. Taehyun gently nudged her with his snout. Are you lonely, little one? Jiwoo leaned against his warm scales. No, I have you. But sometimes I wonder what other humans are like. Real ones. Not just in books and videos. Taehyun had known this day would come. The day when books and stories and one old dragon would not be enough for a growing human child. Humans live in settlements across this continent, he said carefully. Someday when you're older, we might observe them from a safe distance. Jiwoo's eyes widened. Really, you promise? I promise to consider it, Taehyun said, choosing his words carefully. When the time is right. That night, after Jiwoo had fallen asleep in her bed, now much larger than the nest he had first made for her, Taehyun slipped out of the cave. He flew high above the mountains, thinking hard about the future. He had raised Jiwoo for 10 years now, teaching her everything he could about both dragons and humans. But he was not human. There were things she needed to learn that he could never teach her, yet the thought of her walking among humans filled him with dread. Humans who hunted dragons would not understand a child who spoke dragon tongue and defended their kind. They might see her as contaminated, dangerous, or worse, a weapon to be used against dragons. As dawn approached, Taehyun returned to their cave. Jiwoo was still sleeping peacefully, untroubled by the difficult questions that kept her guardian awake. "I will find a way," he promised quietly, settling his massive body near her small one. "A way for you to know both worlds without being destroyed by either." Jiwoo stirred slightly in her sleep, instinctively moving closer to his warmth. Taehyun extended one wing, gently covering her like a living blanket. Whatever came next, whatever challenges they would face as she grew, one thing was certain: the bond between them was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Not quite family by blood, but family by choice. A dragon and his human child against a universe that never expected them to exist together. The years passed quickly in the mountain cave. Jiwoo grew taller and stronger, her mind sharp from Taehyun's careful teaching. By her 16th birthday, she could speak the dragon language almost perfectly, climb the steepest mountain paths without fear, and knew more about dragon history than most young dragons did. On a clear spring morning, Taehyun watched as Jiwoo practiced with the bow he had helped her make. Her arrows hit the target, a circle drawn on a distant rock, with impressive accuracy. "Good," he rumbled approvingly. "Your aim improves each day." Jiwoo lowered the bow, wiping sweat from her forehead. At 16, she was no longer a child. Her black hair was tied back in a practical braid, and her eyes held a confidence that came from growing up under the protection of a dragon. "Can we go see the human settlement?" she asked. "Not for the first time. You promised we would go when I was older." Taehyun sighed, a warm gust of air that rustled the nearby trees. "It is dangerous, Jiwoo. For both of us. We've talked about this for years," she persisted. "I need to see other humans sometime. I can't stay hidden in these mountains forever." The dragon knew she was right. He had always known this day would come. Jiwoo was human, and despite his best efforts to give her everything she needed, there were experiences only her own kind could provide. "Very well," he said finally. "We will go tomorrow, but we observe only. From a distance. No contact." Jiwoo's face lit up with excitement. "Really? You mean it?" "I mean it," Taehyun said firmly. "But you must promise to follow my instructions exactly. The humans in the valley settlement have weapons that can harm dragons. They would not understand our arrangement." "I promise," Jiwoo said solemnly, though her eyes still sparkled with anticipation. "I'll be careful." That night, Jiwoo could hardly sleep. She packed and repacked a small bag with things she might need: her notebook, a water container, some dried fruit. Taehyun watched her with a mixture of pride and worry. "Remember," he said, as she finally settled down to sleep, "humans fear what they do not understand. If they saw you with me—" "I know," Jiwoo said softly. "They would think you kidnapped me or put me under some spell. They wouldn't believe a dragon could raise a human child with love." Taehyun blinked slowly, touched by her words. "Get some rest. We leave at dawn." The human settlement lay in a green valley 3 hours' flight from their mountain home. Taehyun landed carefully in a forest on a nearby hillside, well hidden from human eyes. "We'll go on foot from here," he said, lowering himself so Jiwoo could slide from his back. "Stay low and quiet." They moved through the forest until they reached its edge. From there, hidden among the trees, they could see the settlement spread out below them. Jiwoo gasped softly. Though she had seen pictures in books and videos on her tablet, nothing prepared her for the sight of a real human town: small houses with gardens, streets with people walking, children playing in a central area, smoke rising from chimneys, the sounds of voices, laughter, machines. "There are so many," she whispered, her eyes wide. "This is a small settlement, Taehyun said quietly. Some human cities have millions. Jiwoo tried to imagine 1,000,000 people in one place and couldn't. She watched, fascinated, as children her age walked together, talking and laughing. Women hung clothes to dry. Men repaired buildings and vehicles. They look normal, she said, sounding almost disappointed. Taehyun made a sound that might have been a chuckle. What did you expect? I don't know. In your stories, humans always sounded so dangerous and cruel to dragons. Some are, some aren't, Taehyun said. Just like some dragons are kind and others are not. People are people, Jiwoo, whether they have scales or skin. They watched for hours as the day passed in the human settlement. Jiwoo asked endless questions, which Taehyun answered as best he could. As the sun began to set, he nudged her gently. We should go. It's not safe to fly after dark. Reluctantly, Jiwoo turned away from the view. They had just started back through the forest when a sound made them freeze. Voices, coming closer. I'm telling you, the sensors picked up something big, a man's voice said. Could be one of those mountain dragons. Out this far? They usually stay higher up, another voice replied. Taehyun's eyes narrowed. Hunters, he whispered to Jiwoo. We must leave. Now. But it was too late. 3 men emerged from the trees ahead of them, stopping in shock at the sight of the massive dragon. They wore the distinctive gray uniforms of the Dragon Hunter Corps, with weapons strapped to their sides. Dragon! The lead hunter shouted, reaching for his gun. Call for backup! Run, Jiwoo! Taehyun roared, moving to place himself between the hunters and his child. But Jiwoo didn't run. Instead, she stepped forward, hands raised. Wait! Don't! Shoot, he won't hurt you. The hunters froze, staring in disbelief at the human girl standing beside the dragon. What the? The lead hunter lowered his weapon slightly. Girl, get away from that beast, it's dangerous. He's not dangerous, Jiwoo said firmly. His name is Taehyun, and he raised me. The hunters exchanged confused glances. The youngest one spoke into a communication device on his wrist. Captain, you need to see this. We've found something unusual. Taehyun growled low in his throat. Jiwoo, we need to leave. More will come. They'll just hunt you, she replied quietly. Let me try to explain. Before Taehyun could argue, more hunters arrived, led by an older man with a stern face and a more elaborate uniform. His name badge read Captain Do-yun. The captain took in the scene, the massive dragon, the teenage girl standing protectively in front of it, and raised his hand to stop his men from firing. What is happening here? He demanded. Jiwoo stepped forward. My name is Jiwoo. This dragon found me as a baby and raised me. He has taught me, protected me, and cared for me. He is not your enemy. Captain Do-hyun's expression remained hard. Girl, dragons are dangerous predators. They've killed hundreds of colonists. Whatever you think, you've been misled. No, Jiwoo said firmly. I know the history. Both sides have done terrible things, but Taehyun has only shown me kindness. The captain studied her closely. How old are you? 16. And you've lived with this dragon all that time? Yes. In the mountains. Captain Do-hyun turned to his men. Secure the area and call for the transport ship. We're taking them both in. Taehyun's muscles tensed, ready to fight or flee. Jiwoo felt his movement and turned to him, her eyes pleading. Don't fight, she whispered in dragon language. They'll kill you. I won't let them take you, he rumbled back. Captain Do-hyun watched this exchange with narrowed eyes. The girl speaks dragon tongue, he said to his lieutenant. This is unprecedented. To Jiwoo, he said, tell your guardian that if he cooperates, no harm will come to either of you. We just want to understand this situation. Jiwoo didn't believe him, but she also knew they had few options. More hunters were arriving every minute, surrounding them with weapons designed to pierce dragon scales. They promise not to hurt us if we go with them, she told Taehyun in dragon language. I don't trust them, but I don't see another choice right now. Taehyun's great eyes, ancient and wise, studied the humans surrounding them. "They will separate us," he said softly. "I won't let them," Jiwoo promised. "Whatever happens, we face it together." After a long moment, Taehyun lowered his head in agreement. "Together," he rumbled. Jiwoo turned back to Captain Do-hyun. "We'll come with you, but on one condition. We stay together." The captain's mouth tightened. "You're not in a position to make conditions, girl." "If you try to separate us, he'll fight," Jiwoo said simply. "And so will I." Captain Do-hyun considered this, then nodded curtly. "For now, you stay together. But once we reach the research facility, that decision will be made by others." As the hunters led them toward a large transport ship that had landed in a clearing, Jiwoo walked close to Taehyun's side. She reached up to touch his scales, drawing comfort from their familiar warmth. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "This is my fault. I wanted to see humans." "No," Taehyun replied gently. "This day was always coming, little one. But remember what I taught you. Knowledge is your greatest weapon. Use it well in the days ahead." As they boarded the transport, surrounded by wary hunters with weapons ready, Jiwoo felt fear twist in her stomach, but alongside it was something else. Determination. These humans thought they were capturing a dangerous dragon and rescuing a misguided girl. They had no idea what they were really dealing with. A human who thought like a dragon, who spoke their ancient language, and who would fight with every skill Taehyun had taught her to protect the one who had raised her. The hunters had found the dragon, but they weren't prepared for his human child. The research facility was larger than any building Jiwoo had ever seen. White walls, bright lights, and the sharp smell of cleaning chemicals assaulted her senses as the hunters led her and Taehyun through wide corridors. People in white coats stopped to stare at the strange sight. A massive dragon walking calmly beside a human girl surrounded by armed guards. Jiwoo heard their whispers. "Is that a dragon? Why isn't it restrained? Who's the girl?" Captain Do-hyun led them to an enormous room with a high ceiling and reinforced walls. One side had a large glass window where scientists watched from an observation area. "This containment chamber was designed for dragon research," Captain Do-hyun explained. "You'll both stay here until the research director arrives." Jiwoo looked around the sterile room with distrust. "This is a cage. It's a secure facility," the captain corrected. "For everyone's safety." When the guards left, locking the heavy door behind them, Jiwoo turned to Taehyun. His large body seemed even bigger in the confined space. His scales dulled under the harsh artificial lights. "Are you okay?" she asked in dragon language. "Yes," he rumbled softly. "But we must be careful. They will try to separate us." Jiwoo nodded, sitting close to his warm side. "I won't let them." They didn't have to wait long. The door opened and a tall woman with gray-streaked hair entered, followed by Captain Do-hyun and 2 assistants. Her name badge read Director Minji. "Remarkable," she said, studying them both. "Truly remarkable. A human child raised by a dragon. The scientific implications are extraordinary." She approached Jiwoo, keeping a cautious distance from Taehyun. "Hello, Jiwoo. I'm Director Minji. I oversee dragon research at this facility." "You mean you study how to kill them better?" Jiwoo replied coldly. The director's smile tightened. "Our work is more complex than that. We study dragon biology, behavior language, to use against them," Jiwoo finished. Director Minji sighed. "I see your guardian has given you a rather one-sided view of our conflict." "I've learned both sides," Jiwoo said. "Humans expanded into dragon territories. Dragons defended themselves. Humans called them monsters and started hunting them. Dragons fought back. Neither side tried hard enough to understand the other." The director exchanged glances with Captain Do-hyun. "Interesting perspective. Perhaps we could discuss this further, in a more comfortable setting. We have quarters prepared for you." "I stay with Taehyun," Jiwoo said firmly. "Jiwoo," Director Minji said gently, "you're a human girl. You need proper food, a bed, clean clothes. Things we can't provide in a dragon containment unit." Taehyun shifted slightly. "Go with them, Jiwoo," he said in dragon language. "Learn what you can. I will be safe for now. But remember what I taught you," he continued. "Knowledge is your weapon. Gather it." Jiwoo hesitated, then nodded. Turning to the director, she said, "I'll come with you, but I want to visit Taehyun whenever I want. And no tests or experiments on him without me present." Director Minji smiled. "We can arrange that. Now let's get you settled." As Ji-woo followed the director out, she looked back at Taehyun. His ancient eyes held a message only she could read. Be careful, be smart. Remember who you are. The next few days passed in a blur of tests, interviews, and examinations. Doctors checked Ji-woo's health. Scientists tested her knowledge. Psychologists asked endless questions about her life with Taehyun. How did he feed you as a baby? Did you ever feel afraid of him? Do you consider yourself human or something else? Ji-woo answered carefully, watching their reactions. She visited Taehyun daily, speaking to him in dragon language while researchers recorded every sound. On the fourth day, Director Minji invited Ji-woo to her office. Large windows overlooked the facility grounds where Ji-woo could see other buildings and a landing pad for ships. "You're quite remarkable, Ji-woo," the director said. "Your intelligence tests are off the charts. Your knowledge of dragon biology and language is unprecedented. And physically, you're in perfect health." "Taehyun took good care of me," Ji-woo said simply. "Yes, it seems he did." Director Minji tapped her fingers on her desk. "Which makes me wonder why." "Why what?" "Why a dragon would raise a human child. What purpose did it serve?" Ji-woo frowned. "He has a name, Taehyun, and he didn't need a purpose. He found me alone and chose to care for me." Director Minji leaned forward. "Dragons don't make choices like that without reason, Ji-woo. They're intelligent, calculating creatures. Taehyun must have had a plan for you." "The same plan any parent has for their child," Ji-woo replied. "To see me grow up safe and happy," the director sighed. "I had hoped you would be more objective by now." "After a week away from his influence?" "His influence?" Ji-woo interrupted. "You mean his love and protection for 16 years? "I mean the isolated environment where you only heard his perspective," Director Minji said firmly. "Ji-woo, there's something you need to see." She pressed a button on her desk and a screen on the wall lit up. It showed images of destroyed human settlements, burned buildings, and injured people. Dragon attacks from the past 5 years, the director explained. Hundreds dead, families torn apart. Ji-woo watched silently. Then she said, "Now show me the dragon nest destroyed by human hunters. The hatchlings killed. The ancient dragons captured for experiments." Director Minji's expression hardened. "This isn't a balanced conflict, Ji-woo. Dragons are apex predators with natural weapons. Humans are just trying to survive." "So are dragons," Ji-woo said quietly. "You just don't want to see it that way." The director studied her for a long moment. "I had hoped you would understand our position better. You could be a bridge between our species, Ji-woo. Help us communicate with dragons, negotiate peace. Is that what you want? Peace?" "Of course," Ji-woo met her gaze steadily. "Then why are you developing the resonance weapon?" Director Minji's face showed surprise before she could hide it. "Where did you hear about that?" "People talk. I listen." In truth, Ji-woo had overheard scientists discussing it while she pretended to sleep during one of their tests. A weapon that attacks dragons at a genetic level. "That doesn't sound like peace to me." The director's voice cooled. "It's a defensive measure. A last resort. It's extinction," Ji-woo said flatly. "And I won't help you achieve it." Director Minji stood. "I think we're done for today. The guards will take you back to your quarters." As Ji-woo was led away, she knew she had made an enemy. But she had also confirmed her suspicions. This facility wasn't about research or understanding dragons. It was about destroying them, and she needed to stop it. That night, Ji-woo waited until the facility grew quiet. The room they had given her was comfortable but always locked from the outside. However, Taehyun had taught her many skills over the years, including how to pick simple locks. Using a thin metal piece she had removed from her bed frame, Ji-woo worked on the door until she heard a satisfying click. The corridor outside was dimly lit and empty. She moved silently, staying close to the walls. Taehyun was held in the east wing, but first, she needed to find the research lab where they kept the resonance weapon. Following signs and memory, Ji-woo made her way to the research section. A keycard scanner blocked the main door, but she had watched the scientists enough to know there was a service entrance around the corner. The service door required a simple code, which she had memorized by watching a cleaner enter it 2 days ago. Inside, the lab was dark except for the glow of computer screens. Ji-woo moved carefully between workstations until she found what she was looking for: detailed plans for the resonance device. She took pictures with a small camera she had hidden in her clothes, then searched for the prototype. She found it in a sealed case, smaller than she expected, about the size of her hand. According to the plans, when activated, it would emit a frequency that disrupted dragon neural pathways, causing system failure and death, and it was nearly complete. Jiwoo's hands trembled as she examined the device. She couldn't destroy it. The alarm would sound immediately. But she could sabotage it subtly, in a way they might not notice until it was tested. Using skills Taehyun had taught her about dragon technology, far more advanced than humans realized, she carefully modified several key components. The changes would make the device appear functional in basic tests, but fail catastrophically if ever used at full power. When she finished, Jiwoo replaced the device exactly as she had found it. Now she needed to reach Taehyun. Moving through the dark facility, she avoided the few night guards by timing their rounds. When she finally reached Taehyun's containment chamber, she found him awake, as if expecting her. "They're building a weapon," she whispered in dragon language after slipping inside. "One that could wipe out all dragons." Taehyun's eyes narrowed. "I feared as much. Did you learn when they plan to use it?" "Soon. They're running final tests." Jiwoo leaned against his warm scales. "I sabotaged the prototype, but they'll build more. We need to escape and warn the other dragons." Taehyun nodded slowly. "There is a way, but it's dangerous. Tomorrow, when they take blood samples from me, I will create a distraction. You must be ready." Jiwoo nodded, her heart racing with fear and determination. "I'll be ready." As she slipped back to her room before dawn, Jiwoo knew tomorrow would change everything. The hunters thought they had captured a dragon and his human pet. They were about to discover just how wrong they were. The child raised by a dragon was about to roar. Morning arrived with blaring alarms. Jiwoo sat up in bed, instantly alert. This wasn't part of the plan. Something had gone wrong. She quickly dressed and pressed her ear to the door. Footsteps rushed past, voices shouting orders. "Secure all exits. Get the resonance device ready. Find the girl!" Her door burst open. Captain Do-hyun stood there, his face hard with anger. "Where is it?" he demanded. "Where is what?" Jiwoo asked, genuinely confused. "The data chip you stole from the lab. Our security cameras caught you last night." Jiwoo's heart sank. She hadn't noticed the cameras. A foolish mistake. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, playing for time. Captain Do-hyun grabbed her arm. "Director Minji was right about you. You're not a victim, you're a spy for the dragons. Now come with me." He dragged her through corridors filled with rushing personnel. Through windows, Jiwoo saw ships landing in the yard, more hunters arriving. Whatever was happening, it was bigger than her nighttime adventure. They entered Director Minji's office, where the director stood looking at screens showing different parts of the facility. One screen showed Taehyun's containment chamber, empty. "Where is he?" Jiwoo gasped. Director Minji turned, her face tight with controlled fury. "Your dragon friend escaped an hour ago. Injured 3 guards in the process." "That's impossible," Jiwoo said. "Those walls are reinforced steel." "Apparently not reinforced enough," Captain Do-hyun growled. "He melted through the back wall with some kind of concentrated fire we've never seen before." Jiwoo couldn't help feeling proud. Taehyun had kept secrets even from her, a wise precaution. "Where would he go?" Director Minji asked, studying Jiwoo's face. "I don't know," Jiwoo answered truthfully. They had never discussed specific escape plans. The director nodded to Captain Do-hyun, who released Jiwoo's arm. "I believe you, because he wouldn't leave without you. Which means he's still here, somewhere in the facility." As if confirming her words, another alarm sounded. A voice came over the communication system. "Dragon sighted in the East Wing. All security personnel respond." "He's heading for the weapons lab," Director Minji realized. "Captain, get the resonance device activated now." "No!" Jiwoo cried. "You can't use that. It won't just kill Taehyun, it could affect all dragons within miles." "That's the point," Director Minji said coldly. "This ends today." As Captain Do-hyun rushed out, the director turned to Jiwoo. "I truly hoped you would help us bridge the gap between our species. Instead, you chose them over your own kind." "I chose peace," Jiwoo replied. "Something you never wanted." A tremendous crash shook the building. The lights flickered. "He's breaking through to the central section," Director Minji said, checking the screens. "Trying to reach us." Jiwoo looked at the screens, watching Taehyun smash through walls with his massive body. Guards fired weapons that bounced harmlessly off his scales. He wasn't killing anyone, just pushing them aside as he moved purposefully through the facility. He was coming for her. Director Minji pressed a button on her desk. A hidden panel slid open, revealing a sleek black weapon. Dragon Killer, she explained, lifting it. Fires projectiles that penetrate scales. One shot is usually enough. Please don't, Jiwoo begged. He just wants to protect me. And I want to protect humanity, the director replied. Sometimes we must make hard choices. Another crash, closer now. The floor trembled beneath their feet. Jiwoo had to do something. Her eyes darted around the room, looking for anything that might help. On the director's desk lay a small device, a facility-wide communication transmitter. In one quick move, Jiwoo lunged forward and grabbed it. Before Director Minji could stop her, she pressed the broadcast button. "This is Jiwoo," she said, her voice echoing throughout the facility. "Stop the attack. The resonance weapon has been sabotaged. If you activate it, it will explode and kill everyone in the weapons lab." Director Minji tried to grab the transmitter, but Jiwoo dodged away. "Taehyun," she continued. "I'm in the director's office, but don't attack. There are ships outside, hunter ships. If you break in here, they'll use the resonance weapon anyway, even if it kills their own people." The sounds of destruction stopped. On the screens, Jiwoo could see Taehyun paused in a large hallway, his head tilted as if listening. Director Minji stared at Jiwoo. "You're bluffing about the sabotage." "Am I?" Jiwoo met her gaze steadily. "Are you willing to risk the lives of your scientists to find out?" The director pressed a button on her desk. "Captain, hold on the resonance device activation. Repeat, hold activation." "Director?" The captain's voice came through, confused. "Just wait," she ordered. To Jiwoo, she said, "What do you want?" "A chance to talk. Really talk. No weapons, no threats." Jiwoo took a deep breath. "Bring Captain Do-yeon and the resonance device here. Let me show you something." After a tense moment, Director Minji nodded. "Captain, bring the device to my office. And hurry." While they waited, Jiwoo spoke again into the transmitter. "Taehyun, stay where you are. I'm going to try to fix this. Trust me." On the screen, the great dragon settled onto the floor of the hallway, guards keeping a nervous distance around him. Minutes later, Captain Do-hyun arrived with 2 scientists. One carried the resonance device in a protective case. "Open it," Director Minji ordered. The scientist placed the case on her desk and opened it carefully. Inside lay the small device Jiwoo had examined the night before. "Now," Jiwoo said, "I want to show you something about dragons that you don't know." She turned to the captain. "May I borrow your knife?" Reluctantly, after a nod from the director, he handed her his small utility knife. Jiwoo approached the desk and carefully opened the resonance device's outer casing. "Look here," she said, pointing to the internal components. "This device works by targeting specific frequencies in dragon neural pathways. But what you don't know is that those same pathways exist in humans too, just at different frequencies." The scientists leaned closer, frowning. "She's lying," one said. "Human and dragon biology is completely different, is it?" Jiwoo asked. "You've studied dragons as enemies, not as relatives. We all evolved on the same original world, before dragons came to this planet thousands of years ago." She pointed to specific parts of the device. "These targeting modules are set for dragon frequencies. But if I did this," she made a small adjustment with the knife tip, "it would target human neural pathways instead." The scientists exchanged alarmed glances. "That's impossible," the second scientist said. "But with less certainty." "Test it," Jiwoo challenged. "On a small scale." "You'll see I'm right." Director Minji studied Jiwoo's face. "Even if what you're saying is true, why show us this? You're giving us more weapons." "No," Jiwoo said quietly. "I'm showing you that we're more alike than different. That weapons that destroy one species might destroy the other too. We're connected, whether you want to admit it or not." She stepped back from the desk. "Taehyun taught me that knowledge is the greatest weapon. Now you have knowledge that should make you pause before using this device." A heavy silence filled the room. Director Minji looked at the resonance device, then at the screen showing Taehyun waiting patiently in the hallway. "You said you wanted peace," Jiwoo continued. "Prove it. Talk to Taehyun, not as a specimen or an enemy, but as another intelligent being who wants to survive." After what seemed like forever, Director Minji nodded slowly. "Bring the dragon here. Carefully." 20 minutes later, Taehyun's massive head filled the doorway of the office, now moved to a larger conference room. His great eyes took in everyone present, the director, the captain, the scientists, and Ji-woo, who stood in the center of the room. Taehyun, Ji-woo said in human language, "These people have agreed to talk, really talk." The dragon's rumbling voice filled the room. Talk has failed many times before. Everyone except Ji-woo flinched at hearing a dragon speak their language. "It speaks our language," Captain Do-hyun whispered. Ji-woo corrected. "And yes, dragons have always understood human speech. They just rarely bother to use it." Director Minji stepped forward, visibly gathering her courage. "Why did you raise a human child?" Taehyun's ancient eyes studied her. "Because she needed me, and because I hoped that someday she might help our kinds understand each other." "By spying on us?" Captain Do-hyun asked sharply. "By showing you that dragons are not the monsters you believe," Taehyun replied. "Just as she showed me that not all humans are killers." Ji-woo moved to stand beside Taehyun's massive head. "The resonance weapon would start a war that neither side could win," she said. "Dragons would fight to the last before allowing extinction." "How many human lives is that worth?" Director Minji looked at the device on the table. "What do you propose instead?" "A council," Ji-woo said, "with representatives from both species. Starting with everyone in this room. We talk, we listen, we find a way forward that doesn't end in more death." "Impossible," Captain Do-hyun scoffed. "The military would never agree." "They might," Director Minji said slowly, "if we show them what we've learned today." She looked at Taehyun. "A dragon that can speak our language. A human who speaks theirs. The possibilities and the resonance device?" Ji-woo asked. The director hesitated, then nodded to one of the scientists. "Dismantle it. All copies and plans too." "Director," Captain Do-hyun protested. "We've been fighting this war for generations, Captain," she said firmly. "Perhaps it's time to try something new." 3 months later, Ji-woo stood on a mountain ledge beside Taehyun, watching ships approach the newly established Interspecies Council headquarters built into the mountainside. "Do you think it will work?" she asked, the wind tugging at her hair. "Peace is never certain," Taehyun rumbled, "but for the first time in centuries it seems possible." The first ship landed and Director Minji emerged, followed by Captain Do-hyun, now assigned as security chief for the council. Behind them came 3 dragon elders flying in from the hidden dragon settlements. "They still don't fully trust each other," Ji-woo observed. "Trust takes time," Taehyun said. "But they're here. That's the first step." Ji-woo smiled up at her guardian, her teacher, her family. "You were right about knowledge being the greatest weapon, and you wielded it well," Taehyun said proudly. "The child I raised has found her roar." Together they descended to meet the council, the dragon who had raised a human child, and the child who had roared back at those who would destroy her family. Not quite human, not quite dragon, but something new, something that might at last bring peace to both worlds.